What we can do is take action now to make sure that the money we have appropriated will not run out before the end of the year. This is the consideration that the governor has made and why he has announced these numerous closures and many other steps to live within the budget that was passed. At the hearing in Rockford, Representative Belloc asked that we provide a walk down to show that conclusion in the affected agencies, and I furnished that to Dan Long this morning. I hope he's had a chance to distribute it to the members as part of the official record. We started, as we did that walk down, assuming the actual head count that was in place as we started the fiscal year. And then we looked specifically at the lines we had available for personnel and other operational needs to arrive at that implementation. I think we all know, those of us that have been involved in the process, that the line item budget was a little different than what's been done in the past. And we hope, to the extent that there is a judgment made that there are problems with it, which there clearly are some, that we will be able, in the period between now and the veto session, to arrive at some better solutions. The governor is certainly open to that, and we will continue to do our part to meet with members of the General Assembly or working groups or legislative leaders and staff in order to address these things further. But until that action is taken, until a new set of green buttons are pushed that authorizes additional appropriation, we believe that the current budgetary situation requires these actions. And I will refer to Director Bishop about the greater detail as it relates to the Department of Juvenile Justice. Be happy to answer any questions you have.
Are there questions from the committee? Mr. Vaught. Senator Lofton.
Keep in mind that, can you hear me? You gotta hold it down. Okay, hold it down.
All right. Keep in mind that I'm not on this committee, but I am the senator and Representative Mike Boss from this district. Some questions that I have of the governor's office and of the department. Number one is, why was, there are a number of facilities, juvenile justice facilities in the state of Illinois. Why was this facility chosen? It is a rather new facility. I think it's run well. To give you an example, there was an attempt, I think, in an earlier budget to close the one at Pierre Marquette. What changed? Why this facility was chosen from all the others? And I understand there are some that are rather old and have some real problems with regard to the structure. Could you give me some answers on that, please?
Senator, I think that's very good and also a very difficult question. Those of us that work on the budget tend to be very numbers oriented. We look at the numbers and try to define the problem. But when it gets down to operational concerns like that, we like to rely on the advice and the recommendations of the departments in terms of making those decisions. So that is the approach that we used in all the closure cases, was to seek the advice of the departments about how to solve the numbers problem. And so, if you don't mind, I would prefer to refer those detailed comparisons to the director, because that's who we relied on in giving us those evaluations.
Yes, thank you. Can you provide that answer?
In my total speech, or just specific to the question?
I would say first.
I would just prefer to refer that question to the director, because I think it's very specific as to the comparison
The specific
between
question
Marquette and other facilities.
Again, as Mr. Vaught had indicated, we have been given the charge to operate within this, actually it's like approximately 12% budget cut. We enacted or proposed a budget of $134 million and some change.
Excuse me, is your microphone on?
Testing. Okay. Say that again.
Can you just start over and make sure the people in the back of the room?
In order for the Department of Juvenile Justice to operate within this approved budget that we have at this point, which is about a 12% reduction in what our proposed budget was of $134 million plus some dollars, 89% of our budget goes toward the operation of facilities. And so as we looked at our facilities on a statewide basis, and we looked at each of them individually, and this is not to indict Murphysboro as not having strengths, as all of our facilities do, and also having weaknesses. But when we looked at what the Department of Juvenile Justice was striving to do in terms of its new design and new development, a number of things, a number of factors came into play. First of all, 96% of the youth that's at Murphysboro, 96% of the youth that's committed come from counties outside of the southern region. Only 6% of the youth that are in Murphysboro come from the southern region. And so that's one area that we looked at. The other area that we looked at was the structure. Murphysboro, as everyone knows, at one point was a boot camp. That design was changed prior to my being appointed. That design was changed to a traditional facility. And so within that boot camp structure, then you have dorm-style arrangements. Now, there are different perceptions in terms of whether a dorm style is better than single rooms. Well, we believe that moving youth from a dorm style to a double bunk or having their own rooms are better therapeutically for youth than having youth in a dorm style setting. Secondly, when you look at the actual costs, fiscal costs per capita is $142,000 and some change annually per capita to care for youth that's in Murphysboro. And that's the highest per capita amount of any facility other than the girls' facility we have, and historically girls are only about 5% of our population. And so when you look at the per capita, and then you also look at, in terms of commitments, approximately 40% of the youth are committed from counties, from Cook County, and when you add the other surrounding counties, again, most of your commitments are outside of the southern region. So when you look at a therapeutic and look at a family engagement approach, we want to strive whenever possible to have youth as close to their family and as close to their community of origin as possible. So those were some of the thoughts and some of the thinkings that went into the decision about Murphysboro.